This is the Agribusiness Report. I'm Tony St. James, and we're joined today by the Honorable Tom O'Halleran, who represents the 1st Congressional District of Arizona. He's also a member of the House Ag Committee, serves on the Subcommittee for Conservation and Forestry, and also serves on the Energy and Commerce Committee. So good to meet you.
Same here, Tony.
Let's first off talk about the 1st Congressional District of Arizona. Do we get to call it the big 1st District?
Well, it's big in my terms. I'm the one that has to drive all over it, and it's big, it's diversified, it's a very interesting place. It's bigger than the state of Illinois by about 2,000 square miles. It's bigger than 2 South Koreas. And the diversity within the economy is tremendous. You go from the northern part of the district, and it's obviously not very much agriculture up there, but a lot of ranching. And then you head down south, you go through the mining areas, and then a continuing of ranching. And then you go down south to Pinal County and areas around Pima County, and you have a lot of cotton growers and dairy farms. In fact, my family, my grandfather, my dad were dairy farmers. And it's in between. I have 12 Native American tribes, the largest tribal population of any district in the country. And you just keep going and going, and all are part of 6 national forests and the Grand Canyon, and a number of about 20 other national parks and monuments. And the diversification within the population in general goes from tribal population in the districts about 24%, Hispanic about 20%. We have a lot of elderly people in the district, and we have 2 centers of population, Oro Valley just outside of Tucson, and Flagstaff area. And in between, a lot of small towns that need a lot of help.
When you talk about small towns, these rural communities, the fact that we're walking around with masks on and socially distancing is a gentle reminder that there's been a light shining on a problem that rural America has had for a long time now, but it's definitely a bright light now. I'm talking about broadband. What are you seeing on that front? Well,
the Energy and Commerce Committee is the committee that has jurisdiction over communications within the country, and broadband's on the top of our priority list. This light that you talked about has been shining because of a number of factors, and we've taken care of some of it and are working on other aspects of it, but all in all, rural America needs broadband because of education for our children, the ability to have hospital systems for our family that are effective, and you don't have to travel hundreds of miles to get to see a specialist, especially for a visit instead of the surgery. But a visit, you can go under telemedicine and do that and have a decent conversation. And then obviously economic development. Those 3 elements are things that rural America there's a void in a lot of that, and we have to close that and make sure that we can be treated like all other Americans and have the ability to have our children succeed, to have a long-term life because of good health care, and that the economic development in the surrounding area and farming is done in an appropriate way, not as far as our farmers are great on conservation and taking care of the land, but they need to have the help of the satellites and broadband to be able to plant the fields correctly and do what they need to do in the course of their jobs. But we have worked with the FCC, and they're releasing $16 billion into rural American tribal lands. I had a mapping bill that got included in a larger package that went out, and mapping is telling us where the systems are at, and we can't build new systems until we know where the old systems are. And so that's being worked on through the FCC. We funded that for them. And then on the other side of the issue is we have a bill sitting over in the Senate, it's left here, for $85 billion to address these issues. And then on an ongoing basis, we're working with all the utilities and the co-ops and others out there to be able to find how we can collaborate and coordinate the response for rural Arizona and rural America.
You, I think, have hit on a perfect point there. You can throw money at it, and you can say this is available, but helping those individuals, those entities, if you will, find out how to utilize them, that's part of the challenge as well.
Well, I think my grandfather and my father, who were both dairy folks, they would say you don't throw money at anything. They say that you identify a reason to spend it and spend it wisely. And that's what we're trying to do. If you just start doing projects all over the place, that is not in keeping with the expenditure process that it should be. Whether it's broadband or anything else that's out there, we have to have a specific goal and an objective and a long-range plan. And on broadband, it's going to take us not just the $85 billion that we've approved, or and if it gets out of the Senate, but year after year. And it can't be 25-3, which is 25 download and 3 speed and 3 upload. It has to be comparable to what people around the rest of the country have, because we're rural America. It's the food, where our food comes from. It's where every urban area, the food comes from there. The water comes from there. The ability to have recreation comes from there. So the flood of people out of the cities on weekends or for vacation, there's a reason for that. And we have to have people to maintain those roads. And America passes through rural America. And so there's a lot of issues that the two have to come to a favorable conclusion for, that we have to provide those families out there with the ability to have a quality of life that's appropriate for the American people.
And you talk about being intentional, if you will, about how you invest dollars. Recently, a program rolled out, the CARES Act, through Congress, and that appropriated funds to be used by USDA in their CFAP program, and now the CFAP 2. Have you seen that working for your district?
Oh, definitely. I'm really happy about that. Obviously, what occurred at the beginning of COVID is the restaurants closing, and that's a huge percentage of agriculture. And when that dropped off, the delivery systems dropped off to be able to get the product. And of course, we all saw the videos. They weren't as bad as the news said, but the videos of crops being plowed under. But it's more expensive to harvest the crop that you can't sell than to have it out there and be treated on a continuing basis. So that program and the continuing programs as we get through this. What we're trying to do, everybody wants to call it stimulate the economy. We're not stimulating anything. We're structurally trying to make sure we save America. And at the end of this, we have to come out strong competitively around the world. And we're not going to do that with a huge unemployment base and with people millions of people potentially being thrown out of their homes and apartments, and the constriction of small business in America and small towns in America. We have to be smart about this. Yes, we're spending a lot of money, but if we don't save that, structurally, our country would be in a much worse place than we are today. And so as long as we use those investments wisely, we'll be going down the right path.
You know what, one more thing that we find in your district is just south of the Phoenix area, the Maricopa Ag Center, there, University of Arizona, actually has the world's largest robot sitting out there. It's an amazing facility. Research is a big part of the future as well, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It's an imperative part of the future, both because of the changing dynamics of the climate and the dynamics of cost of farming, agriculture, and then the ability to, I go to the center a couple of times a year, and the different crops that we might have to address because of climate change or because of just cost, or because we want a crop that's going to be based on clean energy and be able to produce that type of energy out of plants. But the other side of that is that it allows us to go in other fields that you might not think of. And it's extremely important. We want to continue. They're short of personnel there. We have to get them more scientists in order to speed up this process. They have been that way for a number of years. I think they're supposed to have 18 personnel, and they have about half that. But you go to that robot, and you see it's got about 2 acres to go play in, and take pictures and test the ground and the crops and the moisture content and everything else. It's a wonderful place. And then they do a tremendous amount of scientific research there for pesticides and others. And that type of research has allowed farmers to bring the use of pesticides way down, therefore the cost down. And if we continue on in that process, we'll try to save more and more for the agriculture industry as it moves along.
Such a pleasure to visit with you, learn more about that big first district of Arizona and the work that's going on there. We wish you the best. Will you come back and see us someday?
Sure would, Tony. Thanks a lot. And bye, everybody out there.
Again, it's the Honorable Tom O'Halleran, representing the 1st Congressional District of Arizona, member of the House Agriculture Committee and the Energy and Commerce Committee as well, on the Agribusiness Report.